Welcome to Surviving Business. This is such an honor today to have the wonderful Naz Pankey join. We've obviously got David, who is our other part of this phenomenal show that we have. So, Naz, welcome to the Surviving Business Show. Great to have
Thank
you.
you for having me.
It's awesome. So, all of you guys know that our goal here is that we believe businesses are a force for the common good. We believe that every single one of us has either a business, worked in a business, or love business, and we know that it's a driver for all of the great things that can happen in our society. In our first few episodes, we talked about specific industries, and Naz was gracious enough for us to bring her on for us to talk to her about her business. And this is kind of challenging for me personally because Naz is one of the people that I perceive as being unbelievably successful. She is doing so many wonderful things. For those of you who are following us today, I am showing you right now her her book that she has and also her phenomenal website. And so, Naz, you're an inspiration to me and an inspiration to so many others that are out there. And so it's great to have you. And I want us to do this real quick. I want us to just jump in with thoughts and questions. You share a little bit about your business really quickly. And then what's like the main pressing thing that you have on your mind? And then we can kind of go from there.
Okay, so my company is called Beast Mode Entertainment LLC. And how I started Beast Mode Entertainment was I had a group on Meetup called Atlanta Filmmakers Team, and we were like a good 400 strong in this group. And I would get together with other filmmakers throughout Atlanta. And some of the writers, people who had a passion for writing, would write scripts. People who had a passion for cinematography, they would come on as the DPs. And we had some editors, we had actors, we had I guess, every piece that we needed to create a film in this group. And we would meet up, plan a movie, and the next week we would shoot it. Then the next week we would go back over it and critique it. And what it did was it allowed people to feel comfortable, actors who were, I guess, aspiring actors to feel comfortable being in front of the camera, people to
Right.
feel comfortable being behind the camera, just kind of work on their craft. And so
Yes.
I didn't have a company name. And I had someone call me one day and say, "Hey, you better," because I was going by Atlanta Filmmakers Team, and someone said, "Hey, you better change that name. I'm going to sue you," because they had a
Ooh.
name that was similar. It was Atlanta Filmmakers, and they had a different name, but I had Filmmakers Team. It just so happened that way, and I guess they felt like a lot of their members were kind of leaving to come to my group, but it wasn't that. It was that I was actually producing. My group was productive. We
That's
weren't
right.
sitting around talking, and we were doing things. So everybody just kind of wanted to be with the Atlanta Filmmakers Team.
So hold on a second.
And
This
so
person, Nas, they called you directly and said cease and desist.
they
Stop.
called me,
Yeah,
yes,
wow.
because we were growing. I mean, we were thriving. We were meeting every week and making films and having fun. And they said, "Hey, listen, if you don't change that name, I'm going to sue you." So at first, I started to fight back, and then I thought, okay, I got to make this into a business, and that's how Beast Mode Entertainment LLC started. I was like, okay, let me just do a Beast Mode Entertainment LLC. And because we were beast mode, that there was no other way that we were beast mode. We get together. Hey, here's the script. Where's the actors? What do we need? Let's shoot it. Okay. What can we do better next time? Let's do it better. Let's
That's
go.
that's great.
And
That's a
and
great way to start off.
that's kind of how Beast Mode Entertainment started. And that's what Beast Mode is. Beast Mode is a filmmaking company. That's what we do. We get together, and I'm a producer. I'm a screenwriter. I'm an editor. I'm whatever it takes. I can do it from conception to completion to get the job done.
That's awesome.
That's beast
So
mode.
that's
And
great. I
what I need to learn, because I just kind of started this LLC. I never went to business school. You know my story about being illiterate, borderline. I'm not going to say totally illiterate, borderline illiterate most of my life, and kind of learning how to read as an adult. And so I'm still learning a lot of things. I never learned how to run a business. I
yeah.
don't know about branding and marketing. And it's just so much that I want to know that I don't know. I know people know Naz Pankey, and I'm not sure if I should be Brandon Nas Pankey or Brandon Beast Mode Entertainment. I don't know.
That's awesome. That's a great way to kick it off with that question. I know David's been capturing some thoughts there. But before we go in and answer that direct question, I'll allow David to give some opening comments and remarks about this conversation today.
Okay, well, welcome, Nas. Um, I'm not about to interview you. I just want to say, what you've been doing is amazing, right? Just listening to the story, how everything grew organically, that's just amazing. And that's kind of like why we do what we do, right? Why we love businesses and why we say that, we feel like businesses are, it's the heartthrob of what you live for, right? When you're a young kid and you're in school, um, the whole idea is what are you going to be when you grow up, right? And all of these things are always careers, right? No one ever says they want to be a junkie or just hanging out at their mom's crib for the rest of their life. I don't think so. Uh, if I meet the kid that says that, I'm like, oh, geez, what do we do for you? But but when we look on people who get to go and do creative things, that's even more amazing, right? And we understand that a lot of creative types, they're not really business types, right? So, as you say, like, yeah, you didn't know, but you did. And, the whole thing is that a type is only a type until when you decide to change that type, right? Until when you start to learn more, right? And then you start to do things that are outside of what your comfort zone was, right? So your comfort zone maybe wasn't business, but right now you're a business lady, right? And right now you're making moves, right? You said you didn't know anything about marketing, or you feel like that's probably something that you could use help on. You'll learn it, right?
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's so amazing. There's so many people, and we've been in those meetings where people just talk stuff and say, "Hey, let's do this and let's do that," and we don't do that. You are such an inspiration, Nas, to just say, "I'm going to do it. I ain't got no time.
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and do it and make it happen." Your first
Yeah.
question about whether you should be Nas or Beast Mode, the answer is both, and you are Naz Pankey. There was a book recently that I gave to my son that I don't keep many books. Once I read them, I just I give them away or something. But I gave him a book recently because he's an aspiring sports writer, and the book was called "You Are a Brand" by Harry Beckworth. And so it's a phenomenal book about how every single one of us is a brand. So Naz Pankey is a brand. All the stuff you've done so far, is a brand. Now, Beast Mode Entertainment, you from a legal and from a corporate perspective, you need that. But when you think about you specifically, you are the brand. All of the stuff you've done so far, that is the power of it. And your story is so amazing. That is what's going to drive everything else. So when you think about how do you phrase and how you put it together, and even on your website here, it's amazing that your website, you've already thought this way. That is your website with your URL. You know how many times I have to talk to people about getting a URL? They're like, what do you mean? By getting my website address, they're like, what do you mean? Why I got to do that? Why don't I come up with some fancy name? No, you are the person. You are the thing. So you got to start with that. So your answer is you are the brand. You still need beast mode because you need that from your taxes and from your legal and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to marketing, you're the face of all of that. Evergreen Uprooted, which is your book, that is something that you did. So it all stems from you. So hopefully that helps you as far as how that thought process should kick off with that.
Yes, thank you. I never looked at it that way. Thank you so much, Winston.
Yeah. And I tell you,
Go ahead.
Go
And
ahead.
it's also one of those thoughts where you can play with the naming convention, even as you start to say beast mode, right? Because as what Winston is saying, you're the brand, right? Beast mode by Nas, brought to you by Naz Pankey. Because what you want to do is that you don't want to allow for the brand to overwhelm you, And I would say like when you look at um certain examples that are out there, I like to look at like a Jay-Z for something like this, right? Where there was Rockefeller and then there was Jay-Z. And we knew other people that were involved with Rockefeller, but Jay-Z was his own brand, even though he was, huge within Rockefeller itself, right? So when you think about your brand, don't allow for, you to think like, oh, well, beast mode has to do this and then I have to be this and I have to do this. No, they're kind of in tandem because beast mode's success is going to be your success. When I used to teach financial literacy to underserved communities, a lot of times what I would tell people to get them up and motivated was you got to understand that you're the business, and this is just personal, right? You have to run your life like a business, right? And when we think about branding, when we think about budgeting, when we think about everything that we do in our lives, if you're running it like it's a business, more than likely you're going to do things that are more efficient, and you're going to do things that are going to make you more successful. Um,
Yeah,
so
and
Yes.
that passion
Yes.
around that's a key thing. So Nas, I tell you, you are the brand. You saw what David just shared with you. Like everything you create is powered by Naz Pankey. Everything you do is
Okay.
around that. Business school people will tell you the reverse sometimes. They'll tell you, "Oh yeah, you should do this branding and get your this name and that name and that." But that may not apply to us as creatives. We
no,
are
Mm.
creating the thing. You wrote it, or you wrote it with some other people from a collaborative perspective. So you did all of that together. So hence, you've got to be in the front of it.
yeah,
So
I mean, have you ever listened to like certain artists, and then you're amazed at how much work they did that you never knew that they did?
Yes.
you know, you
Hmm.
know,
Yes.
like I remember I was at a Nice and Smooth concert. For all the young people who are out there, you gotta like Google Nice and Smooth hip
oh,
hop probably.
he's going. He's going back there. You're gonna have those
Yes.
two.
That's my day. I know exactly who they are.
You're
But
gonna have,
yeah, so it was a
you're gonna
Nice
have
and
those two
Smooth
young
concert. It
boys.
was free in the park.
I
How
was
you
gonna say
say?
you got those two young boys who listen to old records and they do have their YouTube channel. They're gonna do that now with Nice and Smooth.
Yes.
Exactly. There you go. So yeah, Nice and Smooth, and Smooth B started singing some of the songs that he wrote. I'm like, wait, hold up. I didn't know you sang that, right? Well, I didn't know you wrote that. And he's singing the song, I think it was like some high five song or something. I'm like, I didn't know you did that.
Wow.
And what I say there, that's like a lack of branding, right? Because if I didn't know and nobody else knew, hence why you're not as
Yes.
relevant. Well, he's not as relevant as what he could be, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, yeah, maybe you do want to take a back seat. Babyface wrote everything for everybody, right? But hey, Babyface has a big name, right? He has a brand, right? And anybody in that circle knows about Babyface and what he wrote. But for certain people, they need to make sure that that's being on the forefront, right? And when you're
Wow.
coming up, you want that on the forefront.
Yeah, your name
That's why it's Tyler
Yes.
Perry Studios.
your name is
Yes.
unique.
It's
Right.
when you say that, I remember I had went to a friend of mine, well not, colleague, and I said, "Hey, why is it that you never bring me in on any of the jobs that you do?"
Hmm.
And he looked at me and he said, "Nas, I don't know what you can do." He said, like, I didn't even know you could direct. So it's so many things that people don't know that I can do that I do. And that's when
Yep.
I learned how important it is just to let people know what I can do. So I kind of started doing like some behind the scenes. Like I was working on so many projects, but I would never have anybody behind the scenes, getting behind the scenes footage or pictures or anything. I was just like, let's get this job done from conception to completion and move on to the next. So people really didn't know that, you know what, I can write screenplays, but I can also be a cinematographer. I can edit, I can storyboard, I can do a shot list. They didn't know that I could do these different things because I just didn't market myself or that way or even talk about it. And I guess I always felt like talking about it is bragging. I guess I don't know.
I think lots of us
Uh,
came up with that kind of thought process that when we
yeah,
said, hey, if somebody said what you do and you start to do it, we thought it was like braggadocious to say, hey, yo, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. And you're just like, no, I'm trying to be humble because this is what I can do. I want to help you. But the
yeah,
reality is that we all, by telling people what we can do, we are helping them.
Yep.
They're letting them know that, hey, I got the capacity and the capability to help you in a certain way. So it's not just you, Nas. I think it's a lot of us that have to go through that challenge where you just, when you sit down and you think about all the stuff you've done, the skills that you've done in the past, you say, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This is overwhelming. But we challenge ourselves sometimes with just saying it out loud. And
Yeah.
I can just say personally, even just for myself, someone said, yeah, so what do you want to do? And what do you want to do this? And I was like going through this thing in my head about all the stuff that I do and I've done in the past, like this similar list to what you said. And I was like, man, I just got to get out of my own way and make sure that people know what that is. So I want to make sure we answer your next question because I know you got one coming up and we probably sparked a bunch in your head with what we shared so far. So what's your next thing that you think about when you think about your own business and you think about beast mode and Nas and what do you want to see happen? What's like the next pressing challenge that you have in your life?
I guess for beast mode, where do I want to see beast mode? Well, right now as a production company, I would definitely like to see it set up more. Well, my overall long term goal is to one day own a studio. Um, that's a dream that I have, and to own a studio on a block where everything that we need to make films is there. Like, there's somebody who has a costume designer right next door, and catering is on the other side to the left of me, and across the street there's someone over there who deals with I don't know cameras and rents out camera equipment, and just everything that we need is on this block to make films. But anyway,
It's not a
I would
dream.
love to see
Yeah.
beast mode to the next level. Whereas, and I definitely I want to look into a 501c3 as well. So that's one thing I want to do. I know have a different name, but I want it to be connected to filmmaking, where people can donate and write off their taxes, and it can help the community and also help out young adults, young teenagers who really don't know what they want to do. I want to give them a chance to come into the studio and learn filmmaking and see if it's something that you love. Because I didn't have that in my neighborhood when I was growing up. I didn't know that I would love filmmaking, that I love writing, that I love producing, that I love the whole act of creating so much, because I wasn't exposed to that. So I would like to give a lot, especially in the inner city, kids a chance to get exposed to that. I know I'm all over with the question.
No, no, no. And
So I
they
guess my question is, because it's just Beast Mode Entertainment. That's my company. People may say, "Hey, Nas, this is the money I have to make a film." They give me the money. I hire the staff. We make the film. I pay them from the company, and that's where it's at. But I would like to have things just set up a little bit better, like I said, where it can grow to even more. So I guess I'm saying, like, I want to have a 501c3 where I'm helping out in a city kids with it, but I would also like to have a studio. So just take the company and branch it out to other. It's beast mode, but I want to do more with beast mode to
got you.
help serve the community and serve other filmmakers.
Got you. I tell you,
And
every
also, I have another question too. I also want to make good investments, because I don't know that part either. I want to make good investments that's going to help generate. So the money that we make with beast mode, I want to be able to double and quadruple that money.
got you. So philosophically, everything is created twice. And so by you saying it out loud, that means it's a real goal. It's not a dream. It's a goal,
Okay.
especially if you sit there and we help you to tangibly figure out what's the next steps with it. Now, creating the studio, it's a thing. It's a real goal of yours, and it can happen. We just got to sit there and map what it looks like. What it looks like. The second one about having all of the different people being a collective or connected with all of that, I think that that's something when you think about it, it can be happening sooner than later. And the last one I think I heard was the one about giving to other communities, the 501c3.
Yes.
All of that can happen. I always philosophically think about goals in quadrants and chunks. And so when someone comes to me with a business idea, I usually say, all right, people years ago used to say, hey, what's my mission statement or what's my operating statement? They would say this as some kind of slogan. And I would say, nah, stop doing that. Like, put it down on a piece of paper and say, hey, 3 years or 5 years from now, my goal is to have the studio. And then go backwards from there and saying, all right, well, if I need to do that, then every single quarter between now and then, I need to have a specific goal that I need to achieve. And then every single one of those quarters need to have something that you do every week and every day in order to achieve that. So you can't eat an elephant. I think it was Brian Tracy who might have said this years ago, or eat the frog, I think it was called. But you got to take bite-sized pieces of it. So if you want to own, so when you own the studio, so let's use it that way. Say it's 3 years or 5 years from now. Today, what's a step that you can do around it? It's probably all the stuff you're already doing, but you just got to think about it in that frame. You shouldn't do anything that's got nothing to do with you owning that studio in 5 years from now. Because people will come to you as they come to all of us and say, well, I want you to do something that, and your heart will say, hey, oh my gosh, I really feel for this person. I want to do this other kind of thing. But it might take you away from you, far away from the studio. So the first thing I would say is that we, David and I, we have a consulting firm where we spend time and we just do that kind of operating guide, which says 5 years from now, this is what it'll look like. And that's where you start off with, because that's so important. Everything that you just said that you want is a real thing. You ain't say it just to be saying it. You said it because it's a real thing. And those who achieve that goal, there's no kind of like happenstance. People can say, oh yeah, I just fell into it. Somebody sat down and thought about it. So all of these things can happen. We break it down in chunks, small pieces. So that way when you start on Monday, say, what's the thing I need to do to create the studio? Or maybe it's I got to go look at some property. Or maybe it's not even now. Maybe that's in 2022. Maybe it's just getting all the films I need, getting the content of Beast Mode Entertainment the way I want it to be, right? So I got that content lineup. So when I got the studio, I got this whole repository of content that I've got. So maybe it's doing what you're doing today, knowing that that is your ultimate goal. And the one last thing I'll share before I turn over to David is articulate that in your brand. So on your website, right now, it's probably just in your head. You're like, yo, I don't want to tell anybody. It's just my thing. I don't want nobody to know. I'm afraid. No, tell them I'm going to own a studio in 5 years. You won't imagine the energy that creates in the world is real energy. Where people will be like, yeah, nah, she's dope. She going on a studio. Well, I got some space. It creates a cycle of energy that you can't see right now. So going back to our first conversation, we talked about your brand and all that. Just tell the world, yo, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have it right now. And it'll create the energy. They'll start to move you in that right direction. So I know, Dave, I'll turn over to Dave for some more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing Winston said, he was like, yeah, he thinks that is eat a frog instead of eat an elephant. I think it's eat an elephant. It has to be the elephant, right?
It's got to be the elephant.
Because I think we can eat a frog in one sitting, right? Not that I want to eat a frog. I'm not a frog eater.
But it'll be gross initially. So.
Definitely. So I mean, what Winston was saying is right on point, right? So when you think about how you're going to get to the studio, the thought process works like this. What are the things that you are doing today that are already sparing you in that way, right? So it's looking at studios as they exist, and your studio doesn't have to be like what every studio that is out there looks like, right? We live in an age of innovation. We live in an age where people are doing things that have never been done before. And your studio doesn't have to fit into the square peg, right? So I would say, make sure that, you're flexible, right? But you want to be, it's not that studios haven't been created before either, right? So you want to see what's been done before, right? So it's to go and look and see what are those components that are really needed, right? So I don't know the components, but I know that one of the most important things that you're going to need is going to be a whole lot of connections, right? You're going to need investors, right? You're going to need the ability to staff up, right? To have staff that are going to do all of the dirty jobs, the production, blah, blah, blah. So you probably need some connection with unions, right? So all of these things are like relationships that you don't need to get today, right? But you want to start developing all of those relationships, right? You want to start having the legal team that's going to be able to oversee stuff. So you want to have a relationship with someone who you're going to be able to trust as you start guiding yourself through this process to go and get the studio. But like what Winston said, it's a step-by-step thing, right? So if I'm looking on the paper right now and I'm saying that we're going to map it, and you say you want your studio by 2025 sounds like a great year for you to have, your first 10 productions coming out of your studio, right? I don't know. I'm pulling it out of air and I'm saying that's what's going to happen, right? 2025, you're going to have 10 productions running out of your studio, right?
Yeah.
So if you can do that, it's figuring out what happens each year, right? So the easy way to do the map is to start thinking annual. So you set annual goals, right? That are measurable, right? The most important thing is that you don't want to set goals, as you're going through this process where you're able to say like, did I hit the goal or did I not? No, you want to make sure that everything that you're putting out there is measurable, that it's accurate, right? It's reasonable. It's something that you really can achieve, right? And you don't just want to have one achievement point, right? Even as you're setting these goals, right? So, and I don't want to speak in a very vague manner when I say like setting these goals, right? So a goal, for instance, for 2021 could be that, you've established, well, you've created a certain amount of content, right? So you've
Mhm.
created, there's a lot of films that you do. So,
Yes.
so it's a lot of films, right? So you say you created, you know, XYZ amount of films, with those films that you've created, you've been able to get them on a platform, Amazon Prime. They seem to do like a lot of independent stuff, right? So
Hmm.
you've been able to move them, get them onto a platform so that they're able to be seen by the public on a
Hmm.
regular basis, right? You've made a connection with, let's say you identify, several unions that you need to understand their workings or whatever. You found, three associations that outside of the ones that you already are a part of and that you probably already deal with,
Hmm.
that you are able to attend their meetings regularly. Right now it's easy because it's Zoom, right? Everybody's doing everything via Zoom. It just means that you're getting less sleep for a day and you're like, damn, I hate looking at the screen.
You
I'm a
can't sleep
teacher, so
no, you
yeah.
can't sleep anywhere. None of us are
Yeah,
sleeping right
exactly. So you want to set goals like that, right? So
Yeah.
you line them up, and at the end of the year, you say, okay, did I hit these goals? And then you want to look at those goals, and then you want to say, what did I get from achieving those goals, right? And then you want
Hmm.
to say, all right, how do they affect what I plan to do for next year, for 2022? Because all of your goals for the 5 years is already mapped out, but everything is always flexible. It's always moving, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
as you get that business plan mapped out, right? It's
Hmm.
it's a living document. You create it and it lives just like how me and Winston live. We always gonna change, right? And
Hmm.
these are kind of like the basics to how you end up with the studio. Now, what Winston said about the 501c3, yeah, that's something that you could just embed in your work today, right?
Okay.
That's something.
Hmm.
I had a buddy that he used to shoot for HBO and Showtime, and out here in Brooklyn, he used to teach children how to shoot. He had a
Yes.
storefront out here, and he was teaching them how to shoot. And when I talk to him even this day, he's in St. Thomas, and all he does is like he's like a yoga instructor now. And well, he would kill me if you heard me say yoga instructor. He's not just yoga; he does like this full fitness workout thing. I mean, he's an amazing guy. But he still thinks back to those days when he's like, yo, I touched the souls of so many children that were just gonna do what with their lives, right? Just because I had this skill and I had this ability and I had this camera and I could teach, right?
Mm.
So, don't wait for tomorrow to say you're gonna do 501c3 activities. Winston, me, we can have you set up with that, sooner than later, right? Now, something important that you said was good investments, right?
Yes.
Now, when we think about investments, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, right? So everybody sees the market's been hot lately, so everybody's like, "Oh, stock market is the way to go," right? But when you're a business, right, and Naz Pankey is a business, you're making a good investment every time you're investing in Naz Pankey, right?
Wow.
So the investment that you want to be concerned with is you and your business, right? So what are you doing to grow, to grow your business acumen, to grow your craft, right? To grow
Mm.
the people that are around you, right? That are part of, that are part of beast mode, right? So if you have employees or you have people that you regularly deal with that are part of beast mode, how are you making sure that they're able to grow, right? Because
Mm.
that's the investment that you're concerned with, right? That investment will pay dividends time and time and time over again.
The one
Don't
thing
let the noise of the market concern you, because what you want to be is a company that can say one day you're going public, right? That you can think about, hey,
Yes.
maybe I want to go public and I want to go on the market, right?
that's right.
That's
Hmm.
your goal, right?
That's right.
Yes.
So,
I would say that David, thank you for that. I think that that was really
Thank
phenomenal.
you. Yes. Yes.
And
Phenomenal.
so
Thank you.
investment is important, right? And what he shared about investment in yourself is so key. You joined a surviving business show as an investment, as an example. So that's an example of an investment in Naz Pankey. So we
Yep.
shared a lot, and a lot of it can hope can sometimes probably see a lot. It seemed like a lot. Whoa, these guys gave me a lot, and so there's a lot to deal
Yes.
with. But start small. One of the things we shared is about the contacts and one of those kind of things. So reach out to someone on Monday. Say, hey, I'm going to have a studio in 5 years, and so I want you to tell you about it. They may not be able to do anything with you. They might be the lawyer type, or they might be some other person, uh, but they will create the energy. And this is me. This is Winston's energy kind of focus. They will create the energy to get to that momentum. My belief is that you said in 2025 you're going to have this studio. By putting out the energy here starting this very Monday, it's not going to take you that long. But it's going to, by
Yes.
starting the energy today and saying, hey, these guys gave me a lot of stuff. A lot of people joined. There's a lot of stuff to hear, but I can't take it all today. I'm gonna listen to this thing 10 times, hopefully, easily. You're gonna listen to what we've shared a lot.
Yes.
But but, but what do I start on Monday? What do I do then? How do I take a bite-sized thing? I'm just gonna change my website. Say I'm gonna own a studio in 5 years. That could be the
Yes.
very first starting point, because a lot of times people will have a goal, and we probably all know these people, and we probably were this person at some point where we've got a goal and we get so paralyzed by the goal because it seems big, and so we don't
Mhm.
do nothing. Or we wait for
I'm still
somebody
that person sometimes. I don't know what
That's
you're
right.
talking
or we wait for somebody to rescue us to do the thing. And
Yes.
we're like, I ain't got no, I can't. I want to own this, this thing, but I gotta wait for this thing to happen, and so I do nothing. And you've already taken these steps. What we're telling you and the audience, whomever's listening to us today, is that take a step on Monday. Don't drive yourself crazy. Getting an LLC and getting a 501c3 and getting everything you need to have a business is 10,000 times more easier than it was in 2010.
Yes.
In 2010, you would have to call up people. You'd have to go and get your boy to know a boy to know. You'd have to do all this stuff. As far as an investment is concerned, you wouldn't be able to invest when you're on. You'd have to go get some guy. You'd have to come out the pocket massively to do all these things. All these things can happen now, and they can happen relatively
Mhm.
quickly. And that's why we believe that businesses are a force of the common good. So I know we threw a lot at you, Nas. I want to get your comments. If any of it was unclear, we are definitely ready to share again and make sure it's as clear as possible for you and for the audience. So hopefully you found some value in our combo so far.
Oh, yes, very helpful, very inspiring. Just giving me some direction and where I need to go in regards to, like you said, going to my website and putting, hey, in 2025, I will own a studio, and this is what my studio will look like, and this is what it will consist of, and this is the objective of the studio, and what we plan to do in regards to the community, especially with the young kids. A couple of years ago, well, not a couple of years ago, just yeah, a couple of years ago, because I didn't do anything in 2020, right? Because of the
Right.
pandemic,
That's
not the
right.
pandemic, pandemic. But yeah, 2019, I worked, in a school with kids, and I taught them media studies, and I just loved it. I loved it,
That's
and not
right.
that I want to teach, but I just love helping young people, I guess, have options, showing them how wonderful filmmaking is. They might want to
Yeah.
do something else, but I just think filmmaking is so wonderful, and there's so many things you can do in the world of film
Yeah.
other than just be behind a camera or in front of a camera. It's just you can be a set designer, special effects, makeup. It's just so many different things that you can do and have fun, and I just really love it. And so I do believe 2025 that will happen, and I see a lot of other things happening too in the studio. So you gave me some vision. You helped give me that vision, because I was saying this is what I would like to see. Now I'm saying that this is what will be in 2025.
That's right. One of the things I think
about.
that's so cool that I know of you and your leadership is that, and this is the same thing that we have here for the Surviving Business Show and all of our entities, is that having principles is a key thing when you're going about a business venture. And I know your spirituality is a really important piece of it. And I hear it in everything that you do. and putting that up front in regards to all of the things in your vision, I think is a key component that sometimes I hear missing from businesses sometimes businesses will say, well, it's about this margin or about our great product or our great service, and sometimes they'll miss the reason why, the
Yes.
spirituality, the power behind what that means, because that's what connects with people. People will remember the principle of an entity even more so sometimes than they'll remember the product of it. So when you
Yes.
think about all of this vision that you have and all these things that are going to happen, make sure that you continue to share that. You could care, don't, I know you don't today, but make sure you could care less about what somebody says. Sometimes people say, oh, yeah, this
Oh,
person is this way. Like, who cares? It's your business
yeah.
and it's
Yes.
your principles, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
it is going to be. And a lot of times I see people who will change their principles on a whim. Somebody said, well, you got to make something that people going to want to buy or people going to want to see. People want to
Mm.
get with people, authentic
Yes.
people. They want to know what
Yes.
that is
Yes.
sometimes more than they
Mhm.
just want. Because if you capitulate who you are to make something that's a product for other people, it ain't gonna be Nas. The whole thing we talked about, Naz Pankey's branding, is gonna be somebody else's thing. So
Yes.
don't compromise that throughout your business path. That's a
Yeah,
key
I,
thing.
I think what Winston's saying right here is very key, especially when we talk about creative businesses, because there ends up being this time where, yeah, well, you need to cater to a wider audience, or you need to, change this so that it can fit into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
For years, I worked in banking, and I worked at some of the largest banks on Wall Street, and it would hurt me sometimes that they would be like, well, we need to get rid of some of our small clients because we're not making enough money off of them, right?
Mm.
We need to focus on the big guys because that's what drives our revenue, right? And I'm like, but what about when those small guys become big guys and you have like
Exactly
them
right.
from jump and all of a sudden they become huge,
That's
right?
exactly right. They're gonna remember.
They're gonna remember that. And for creators, it's this difficult line now on the production side where you're creating your own stuff and you got your own studio. The beauty in that is that you can control that, right? You
Yes.
have greater control over that, right? You're not just an artist that's out there that's like, okay, I rap, and now my rap, and I used to like to rap about conscious stuff, but in order for me to make it, I got to become a gangster rapper, and then
Mm-hmm.
I got to try and like put one or two things of knowledge in here to make sure that people like understand that I'm not really just gangster. And then years later you breaking down all your gangster raps on what you really meant, but no one got that. And instead, like
We know
people out
those
there selling
rappers.
drugs because of what you say.
We all know those rappers, and they didn't go far, or they went far, and that was
Yeah,
the end of it when they
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
changed their principle.
yeah. So yeah, staying key to who you are. I think
Yes.
that's that's great. And that's like that's embedded in your model, right? So I think when you talk about having a 501c3, right, and you're going to like be teaching the youth the business, right? You're thinking about not just the business, but you're thinking about the legacy, right? And
Yes.
legacy of institutions, and not to be putting extra weight on your back, right? But it is the legacy, right? It's the legacy that you walk with, that we carry, all as people of color that live in this country. We know it, and I'm just excited to see what's going to be happening in 2025. But but what else do you have for us? You have any other things that are burning you?
Well, I guess investments too. I know we talked about, like you said, investing in myself is, so you answered that question, is part of the branding and the investment in the company. I
Mm-hmm.
guess for me, because I never learned financing and start, and I know it's never too late to start learning now. That's where I'm at now. I
Mm-hmm.
want to start to learn now,
Mm-hmm.
where to go with things, because I do believe that I have content now that studios would not now, I've had it, but now I'm willing to share my content with studios, larger studios and networks, to get more funding for more projects.
Hmm.
And I want to make the proper investments. I want to make the proper choices. I see so many people, they have opportunities. They don't know what to do with the opportunity, what to do with the money, and it's here today and going tomorrow. And I don't want that. Like you said, David, I want to leave a legacy, not just for the business beast mode, but for my family
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
well.
of course.
I
So,
think one of the things I hear a lot, and I have some insight into our creative world, is that there is a there is a resistance to figuring out how to take the great content you have today and making sure that you monetize it some kind of way. Because well, the studio won't accept it because of this, or the studio won't accept it because of that. That is a fallacy. We can go as close as insecure to see that that's a
yeah.
fallacy. Where that was a YouTube video that turned out to be a phenomenal HBO show. And
Yep.
that's the thing right there. So when you think about how do you start today on this, Nas, and how do you take what your great content is today, and this is something we can obviously help you with, is how do you make sure that people understand it today and how do they help contribute to it? So this is great because it makes me think about how you can interweave your 501c3 into this overall vision. You create your
Mm,
501c3, you're getting donations because you're getting donations to create more content that are based on your spirituality and your overall vision of what the future is going to look like. So you're doing that all linking together, right? So people will donate to it because they want to see more of this kind of great content as opposed to waiting for some studio, and they may be like Amazon may say, "Yo,
mhm.
no, this is dope. We need more things on Prime. We ready to go."
Yes.
But they will be
Mhm.
even more ready to go if they know that you got a thought about, "Hey, I'm going to take what I got today and make it happen."
Mhm.
I use like
Make
a
it
I
happen.
use like a weird analogy of 30, 40 years ago when people were selling these CDs out of the back of their trunk. But it's sort of like that in a way. It was like, yo, I got stuff. Why am I waiting for the record company to tell me now it's time for my now they're gonna put me on? I'm putting
Yeah.
myself.
Mhm.
So
That's
taking your
right.
great content and say, yo, I got you got a YouTube channel. You probably got more than one if I recall. You got all of that going
Yes.
on. You've already teaching young people. All of that funnels into your 501c3, and that helps you to drive more production of films, which gets you to the studio. All of that happens that way.
Yep.
Mhm.
You follow that?
Yep.
Yes. So, Dave, you got a comment on that?
Yeah, no, I just know that I still heard Nas mentioning, that she wants to build up and understand like the stock market and that type of deal more. So the stock market and stuff, I think that's a separate venture from beast mode, right? So beast mode is
Mhm.
doing what beast mode is doing. Stock
Yes.
market plays and stuff that you do, that's going to be Naz Pankey learning how to invest some dough that she can then reinvest into beast mode.
That's
But
right.
it's a
Yes.
separate, the two animals are different, right? So,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think philosophically it makes a lot of sense. It just does because I believe the same thing that you do. That investing in entertainment companies specifically,
Mhm.
we all need investment in entertainment companies. There's these things called ETFs, which are like combined of a bunch of companies. That today there
Mhm.
are for some for entertainment companies.
yep.
My opinion about this is like, man, we need an ETF for all of us independent people who are out there doing something. Not
Mhm.
necessarily an ETF per se on the market, but an ETF where we collect our funds and we help other people get their stuff done. That's what I
Yeah.
mean, where we got a combined pool. And the challenge with that, and this is our personal challenge, is that we've always got our ego in place. You know, like,
Mhm.
yo, I got to go first or I got to go second. And so we got to work together on that. And having the principles that we talked about earlier, having that, hey, all of this stuff is spiritually based, helps us to overcome that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
a lot, Nas. This is phenomenal. I've loved every single moment of it. And I want
I
to make
do
sure that you
too.
don't walk away like, hey, these guys are great. And there's a lot going on, but I didn't get a chance to ask this or that. So I want to make sure that you get a chance to ask us anything, even of the stuff that we said. If we said it too fast, because we didn't say it too fast because you're from the Bronx, we from New York. We can speak a million miles. We can speak a million miles a minute, and we all know what we're talking
Yes.
about.
Yes. I talk fast anyway. That's
That's
true.
right. But if there's
But yeah,
anything, go ahead.
I feel like you've answered most of my questions, and my biggest thing was which way to go. Should I go Nas Panky, Beast Mode? And like you said, Nas Panky is Beast Mode Entertainment, so that's great. Just to have the right way to look at it, because that's going to help me do what I need to do. And I could say that today, Naz Pankey walked to the top of Stone Mountain for the
Oh,
first time.
that's an
Yeah.
awesome.
Awesome.
That's an awesome
And when
investment.
I made it to the top, it started snowing.
Oh,
It's awesome. That in of
So I'm already
itself.
working on Naz Pankey because Naz Pankey needs
mhm.
to lose some weight. Then Naz
We are.
Pankey sat
Yeah,
down
we
at the
we
restaurant
we all
and I
gotta
didn't
do
eat
that.
no cakes and no biscuits, but I kept it healthy on top of that.
That's
So now that you
exactly.
told me that, I have to just continue to work on Nas Pankey, and this has been just so helpful, and thank you guys for taking the time to sit with me, just to help me just get some direction, because that's what I feel like. I feel like this meeting today gave me direction and which way to go. I know that I am ready to start to shop a lot of the content that beast mode that we have. I know that I have a great brand in regards to being a phenomenal producer, which is great. I've done some, just recently last month produced, directed a feature. Uh, no, that's in January. February produced a pilot, very successful. And I have some more stuff. Just every month, something's going on. So the brand of producer Nas, screenwriter, director Nas is very good right now. So just want to continue, like you said, to build on that. The more successful projects that I have, the more the more work and the more people will trust me. I'm building credibility, and it feels good. This is a place that I feel God has led me to this moment just throughout my life, right? Just how everything started. I was a school bus driver, and I was driving Steve Wilkos' daughter every day. Didn't know that I was going to actually go to school and study to be a filmmaker, TV production, media studies. That's my degree. That was my major in my degree, and had no idea that I would need an internship. And when I did, Steve Wilkos said, "Yeah, bring her in." She was always on time. She great personality. So my first job before I even graduated was with NBC because, of course, they said, okay, we're going to keep her around, after that internship. It went from Steve Wilkos, Jerry Springer, Maury, down here to Georgia.
I'm sure you had a lot of fun on the Steve
B,
Wilkos show.
BT, sports or everything. But just all these different jobs, I can say, coming out of college and working showed me how it takes everybody. It takes a team really to make these productions happen because there's so many different parts that we all have to different parts, one body, right, working together to make it happen. And just even in college, my major was TV production, but my professor was a cinematographer, and he was amazing. And he taught me cinematography. He taught me how to tell a story through the lenses. And I never thought that I would use that when I was learning these different things. I never thought that I would use it in life, but just how our whole life is a setup and God's working behind the scenes, right? And just the journey that has led me here, that I'm able to do what I do now. And this is just from experience and being in certain situations and having to learn certain things or having people teach me certain things. And so that's how Naz Pankey came to be. And I want to be able to pass that on to other people. And one thing I can say about me is I love to see people walk in their passion. So if it's something that I see when I'm on set, if I see somebody says, "Oh, you know what? I like gaffing. I love telling the story through lighting, or I love to write, or whatever it is," then I want to try to find a job for that person to do because I know how important it is for us to walk in our passion and do what we love. I don't want to work any more jobs that I hate. I don't want to clock
Yeah.
nine. I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I've worked so many jobs and just to survive. I've done hand to mouth for so long. That's not what I want to do. And yes, I want to make money because not that I'm worshiping the money, but I know the money is going to be able to help me to give to people
Right.
to get to that next level. But it's really about me waking up every day, doing what I love, and saying, okay, if I die tonight, I did what I love. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and just not going to
There you
bed
go.
feeling like, damn, this was I'm stressed out. I hate my job. I hate my life. Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
doing what I love. I didn't accomplish
Yeah.
anything. I don't want to feel like that. So I just want to be able to be at a place where I can continue to do what I love and walk in my passion. I don't want to ever go back to that life of, not that I don't regret driving a school bus. I don't regret any job that I had in the past, because those jobs made me who I am today. I don't regret it, but I just don't want to go back there. I want to continue to walk in my passion because that's what makes me happy.
You know, when you share what you share, I always get this thing in my head that what Nas is doing is a calling, which is even a more grand thing than even just your purpose. It's something that you've been called to do. And the one thing that I love about all the stuff you just shared, you were talking about what you're doing in Beast Mode, but there's a whole group of human beings that's around all of that stuff that you're doing. And they are feeling that energy, and you're helping to transform their lives as well, which is an amazing thing. And that's what our hope here is in the Surviving Business Show, is that we talk to people who are out there who are trying to make it in business and trying to understand who they are as a person, and how do they figure out what's that next step, and how do they figure out whether this thing is a purpose or a calling or both. How do they do that together, and how do they make it work? Because as challenging as the place is that we live, right? We're a dysfunctional family. This place called the United States of America. We're dysfunctional. We just a dysfunctional family. But at the same time, we have this ability to get up and say, you know what, I'm gonna be a filmmaker tomorrow. I'm gonna do something else to the next day. That's a beautiful thing. I don't know if the people who created this country thought about it that way, but I'm glad that we're here right now and we can do it that way. That's a phenomenal way to be. And so someone, if you're out there and you hear what Naz is talking about and where she's come from and where she's going, that's the same thing you can do. You heard us talk about legacy today. No one is going to remember what you got. You're not going to remember what you bought. Mm-hmm. You're going to remember the amount of love that you had, the relationships you had with people. You really don't remember a thing. Besides that, I was talking to someone recently about some company years ago, and they were like, what about this company? What? I was like, well, who do you remember from that company? They're like, oh, I remember such and such. I was like, that's more important than the stuff you did at the company or that you did in life. That was the deal. And so when you're creating a business, and this is why we created this show, is that the business is about business and making sure you got money and revenue, but it's also about all them human beings.
Yes, that's what I always say. I say people remember how you treated them and how you made them feel. People always remember that. It could be 30, 40, 50 years later. They remember how you treated them and how you made them feel. I say kindness will take you places in this world that money will never take you. And that's a fact.
That is powerful stuff.
And that's why on my set, Winston, I try to keep positive people around. I keep the morale up. We're doing this thing because we love it.
Yeah.
So I'm very particular about who I work with, because, and just keeping, we all come together and we work hard, but we love it. And I don't ever want to lose sight of that. Like, we're doing this because we're here because we want to be here and because we love doing what we do.
You know,
there's no big eyes and little U's. There's no disrespect. There's just let's come here, let's come here with love and kindness. Yeah. It can get tough sometimes, but we have to always remember to be respectful and to be kind to one another. And that's the type of set I run. I don't care if you changing the garbage or if you the person who funded the project.
That's right.
Everybody gets treated with respect and
there's
love.
There's a lot of books that have been written and a lot of people who get up and talk about what leadership is and what it isn't. But all of what you described there is authentic leadership. All of the stuff that you do for those people aren't necessarily just doing it because, oh yeah, ain't none of them making $1 million working on your set, but they are doing it because they believe in you and you got their back.
Yep.
And that's real leadership. That's a level of leadership that some people never aspire to. It's a challenging thing because we as human beings, those who try to aspire to leadership where they serve the people that they work with first are real leaders. They are not the people who got titles or the people who got the most money or the people who are the people you see on TV and movie shows where there's like, yo, do this, that. Them leaders don't work anymore.
Yes.
This is all about knowledge. And all the people who described on set, they got knowledge about what they do.
I've driven, like, done like chauffeur, whatever you want to call it, work where I've driven. Matter of fact, for the NFL, which was the Super Bowl, I drove big football players, and yeah, I was there at the Super Bowl. Yes, y'all, I was with the football players, straight with them, and I drove a lot of celebrities, and I have to tell you, there was one. I'm just gonna say his name, Post Malone, and I drove him on Super Bowl, to do the Super Bowl, the one they had here in Atlanta when they had the Super Bowl here a couple of
Mhm.
years ago, whenever it was 2 3 years ago, I don't know. Anyway, what I remember about this guy, and I don't know Post Malone. I mean, I didn't really know him. My sons, they know him, but I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know the dude. Went there, drove in, picked him up off his jet. He gets in the car. He holds the door open for his girlfriend. He has all these security people or whatever, but he's like, nah. He gets the door, holds the door open for his girlfriend. This is the guy who has like the tattoos all over his
Hmm.
face, and
Mhm.
and the colorful hair, and I'm like, okay. And I'm playing my music that I like. I don't know his music, not one song.
Hmm.
Okay. And I said, if you want me to change the station, I can. Because I'm like, okay, this guy is some sort of pop star. He probably wants to hear his stuff or whatever. And he was like, oh no, the music that you're playing is fine. He was so polite. He said, can I smoke in here? I was like, no. He was like, okay. He was so he was so polite, and he was so kind. And I didn't know him. I know he was somebody big, but I just remember the kindness. I was like, let me download all of his songs. And I remember how loving he was to his girlfriend.
Yeah, I tell you,
Just how
Nas.
sweet he was. He was so sweet to that girl. And that's my point. It's not really about money. It's about how you treat people. Remember how you treated them.
Yeah,
I remember, and also
I was
I
going to
also
tell
did
you.
the All
I was,
Star.
I was going to tell you
And
that I keep forgetting to. I will never have a conversation with you without reminding you that your story itself is a movie. We got to make the Naz Pankey movie. It got to happen because your
Got
story is that great. You gotta. It's got to happen.
thank you. I tell people it's a miracle.
Yeah,
It's a miracle that I'm here. I'm sitting right here. In my right mind.
that's right.
It's a miracle, and I tell you, what I do today saved my life. What I do today, because
That's
I was like,
wonderful.
okay, it has to be a reason. It has to something has to give. It has to be a reason. It has to be a meaning why I'm here. Why am I here? And we all want to have that purpose, right? Why are we here? But I'm like, why am I here? Why am I still here? It must be a reason. And this is the reason. And they say my slogan is creating stories that make a difference.
That's powerful.
If I can't create something that's going to touch somebody's life and make a difference in somebody's life, it's not even worth creating.
Keep that in front of everything. Put that on your email byline. Just every single time you interact with someone.
Okay.
It's been great.
Oh,
It's been great to have you, Dave. Any comments for the audience that's out there
yeah.
listening to Surviving Business today?
I just want to say, Nas, thank you for coming on. Your last set of comments that really set a high bar for whoever comes after you, to try and tell us about their businesses, right? Because a lot of times folks have different reasons for going into business. But I think that those people who go in business for passion and because they're really doing something that they love and something that they feel like there's nothing else in the world that they would rather be doing, those are the people that we really want to help.
Yeah,
So,
Thank
so
you.
that's awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, it's been a joy. Like I said, I have direction now, and that's what I need. Winston, we met some years ago. I always say nothing is by coincidence.
That's right.
And Winston is a powerhouse. Winston is
Thank you.
really, really amazing and has always inspired me. But just, I love how he does business. I love how organized you are, how you have everything kind of set up and planned out. So
Thank you.
thank you. It's just an honor. I feel really blessed to be a guest on your show today. And I thank you for all of your advice. And, I am definitely going to take it.
That's awesome.
And start to execute it in my life and walk every day, with that goal that in 2025 I will have a studio. Naz Pankey Beast Mode Entertainment will be a studio. And not only will it be a studio, it will be funding projects, and we will be helping out inner city kids in the community to walk in their passion and in their
That's so awesome. Ooh, you said it.
helping them create through the arts.
That's right. That's so awesome. If anyone wants to connect with you, how do they do that, Nas?
Uh, well, I'm on Instagram, beastmo_Naz. My email address is nazpankey@gmail.com. My website is nazpankey.com.
That's right.
Facebook, Naz Pankey. Google, Naz Pankey. You'll find me.
There we go.
For those of you who are out there and you want us to talk about your business and see how we can help you, please let us know. Just hit us up. Tell us, this is what I got. Like David said, you're going to have a ways to go to match up to the wonderful Nas here today. But we believe you can. We believe that every single one of us that's out there who's got some passion and some business they have, they need to survive. 2021 is our year for us to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction. We all live in the roaring 2020s. And so once we beat the pandemic, I think that's what Nas calls it, we are going to be on this next level. So thank you for joining the Surviving Business Show today. Please subscribe. Let us know what you got, because we are here for you. And remember, we believe as businesses are a force for the common good. Thank you. Take care.